Welcome everyone to WorldSimSeries, the Porsche Fever special championship, premium championship, third round. So we will pass the mid-season this afternoon, and we are live from the virtual track of Red Bull Ring, located in Austria, Spielberg. Styria. This is a very famous circuit, and not only Formula One visits this venue time year after year, but we have plenty of championships taking place here on this very special circuit. This time, as usual, two Porsche classes. Porsche 911 GT3 Cup 992 cars and the Porsche Cayman GT4s. All the drivers, 22 drivers in total in the first division this afternoon. They will try to continue their journey in this championship to try and snatch the highest places possible. Not all the drivers are present here this afternoon, but more about this a little bit later, as the qualifying session is still live with a relatively short lap and a little bit more than 3.5 minutes on the clock. There's definitely more time for the drivers to improve, and we see that Matas Mendelis is heading straight out of the pit lane. Maybe he has adjusted his setup a little bit, and his teammate for this afternoon, well, he has plenty of teammates here. They are Grajis and Klapikas, I believe. We should have a father and son on one racetrack. This is Henrikas Klapikas, and Eduardo Klapikas is racing in the Porsche 911 992 class, while his son is in the GT4 class. We can welcome Grajis for climbing up the ladder. I believe he was driving in the GT4s or maybe in slower cars, but he decided to participate in this race, and both Grajis and Klapikas are actually real dream to drive team drivers. They will be heading around the tracks in Europe this coming season to try and battle and race for the wins there. Currently they are on the virtual racetracks. Grajis is currently 5th, while Klapikas is 6th. So Chris Inani is currently on top of your leaderboard, ahead of Bernini and Matas Mendelis. He is currently 3rd in the GT3 Cup class. Bernini sets the fastest lap time, wow, only by 0.02 of a second, and goes slightly faster than the previous pole sitter Chris Inani. And looks like there's going to be a battle between these drivers. We should not forget that we have a couple of categories here in this championship. So 2 categories in the 992 GT3 Cup class, Pro-Am and Pro Plus, and Bernini is actually currently leading the Pro-Am championship, and he's now leading the qualifying session of the 3rd round, while Toros Tonil is leading the Pro Plus class, and he's not present. Matas Mendel is currently 2nd, and Cajoni is 3rd. Bernini is 1st in the AM standings, Gallardo 2nd, and Kalmaitis is 3rd. We don't have all the names here this afternoon. And the GT4 class is led by Jan Nimtz. In the overall standings there are only 3 drivers, so Jan Nimtz ahead of Rahmanian and Gavars in the standings. The GT4 Pro-Am greets 5 drivers in total, with Bagley currently in the lead, but I missed to see the names here on this leaderboard. We have a couple of divisions running, so maybe they are separated in those 2 separate divisions, as Bernini goes even more faster with a lap time of 1 minute 37.54. So back to the standings. GT4 Pro-Am is led by Bagley, followed by Schlebusch and Lulis, and the biggest battle, of course, is in the GT4 Am category, with one of the drivers standing in the pit lane. Gubarevs leads the M category, Nikanen is second, and Leroux is currently third in the standings. So about that while we speak about the championship standings, and back on the track with a GT3 Cup car. This is Nani. He's trying to improve a little bit of traffic here on his way, and this is gonna be his final chance. He goes straight into the pit lane, meaning that the qualifying session for him is over. Matas Mendel still tries to use all the width of the track available for him. I wonder if that was not too wide. He's currently, well, it looks like he's not improving, not in the first or second sector. And he will try to nail the final couple of corners. He's 2.5 tenths behind, so he needs to find at least 1.5 tenths to try and move further up the ladder in the standings. Cashon and Mendeles both have a car with a 15 kilograms of additional weight, and actually looks like the qualifying session is over now. So let's try and go through the results of this qualifying session. I think we will just look at it in the overall standing type. So Bernini taking the pole position from Crisinani, Cajoni third, Gragi is fourth, Mendel is fifth, Vielga sixth, Klapika seventh, Tracciali eighth, Frutos ninth, Colossi 10. Nims is your pole sitter for the GT4 class. Klapikas, the son of Eduardos Klapikas, is second. In the GT4 class, Rahmanian third, Gubarevs fourth, Leroux fifth, Ilma sixth, Wii seventh, Nikanen eighth, Kvietkauskas ninth, Jolikaya 10th, Gubaleo 11th, and Lulis is 12th on the grid. So let's take a very quick break and try to welcome Tauras Tunila into this race before we go to the start line.
So hello guys, I'm saying hello from the Red Bull Ring, the real one Red Bull Ring. So a bit sad I'm not able to take part in the WSS event for the moment, because we need to prepare for the upcoming race here. But I wish you best of luck and have a nice race, everybody. Have fun.
So this was Tauras Tunila, and the reason why he's not here on the virtual track with all the drivers for this 1 hour race. This is the third round of the championship. All the round events count towards the overall standing, so Tauras Tunila missing quite a lot, but he's definitely not sad about it. He's having some fun on the real Red Bull Ring racetrack in a 992 car as we prepare ourselves for the race start. Oh, and one of the Dream to Drive cars, I think it was Klapikas. Yep, it must have been Klapikas who failed to move from his standing still position. Hopefully everyone, it looks like everyone managed to pass around him safely, but some sort of issues already at the very start of this race for one of the Dream to Drive drivers, Klapikas, but he managed to get it going. Oh, Cajone with a very late break, and a lot of drivers following him with the very late braking zone and almost taking everyone out. Plenty of avoidable action has been taken here in the second corner. I think Tarchali was the next driver who was very late on the brakes. You can see him already going out of the 3 wide into the third corner. Yep, that's Matas Mendel is trying to keep on the outside of the racetrack. He lost the place to Frutos in all this chaos happening around him, and I think this was a very smart thing to do for him, but he lost a little bit, well, plenty of time in comparison to the leaders. Bernini has a very healthy lead now against Crisinani. Roughly 1.5 seconds. Cashoni is, well, he managed to stay second. He was the one with the very late lunch on Frutos, or was it Crisinani, and almost taking him out. Then there was some action behind. As we have completed 1 full lap already, this is gonna be a very lap full race, because these laps are relatively short. We've raced in Slovakiaring, we've raced in Spa-Francorchamps, so the laps were very long there, and it didn't offer a lot of strategy opportunities on different laps. Because the laps were pretty long, and here on the Red Bull Ring I am pretty sure we will see a slightly... Oh, there was one Porsche, that's Terciali. Terciali was going to the wrong side of the racetrack. More drama in the GT3 Cup class. Finally managed to turn around the car and point towards the right direction. As we continue our racing on the opening laps of this 1 hour race, there is still one mandatory pit stop up ahead for all the drivers. Everyone can choose the timing to their likings, to the way they see the best strategy work here on this racetrack. And as usual, we have a couple of choices here, with trying to stay on the same set of tires for all the duration, for full duration of the race, and the others might do a split strategy where they put in a less amount of fuel into the fuel tanks for the beginning of the race, set a fresh set of tires, put fresh set of tires on their cars, and then do a pit stop somewhere in the middle of the race to have the best possible pace. The others might have a slightly more conservative strategy with a little bit of fuel saving, and trying to finish off this race with one set of tires, meaning they will win quite a lot of time in the pit lane. They will not have to stay stationary for so long as their rivals, and that should give us a very nice, interesting battle towards the end of this race. I have no doubts about it. We will definitely have split strategies this evening. The track suits the strategy type perfectly. And currently Matas Mendelis, well, he didn't have pace in the qualifying session. He was very unlucky during the start. I wonder what he will be up to as Terciali tries to squeeze by the GT4 field after that misfortune in the second lap. Race control will have to look at the replays and all the accidents that took place. Therefore, the results after we will finish this race will still be preliminary, because some penalties, as usual, might come after the race. But first things first, let's finish off this race so far. Klapikas currently second in the GT4 class. He's looking pretty strong here, only 1.6 seconds behind Jan Nims, one of the strongest runners in not only in this championship but overall on the WorldSimSeries platform. A lot of championships have been won by Jan Nims, and Klapikas is showing that he joined this championship not only to have some fun, but maybe to challenge one of the fastest drivers on the WorldSimSeries platform. Bernini, the championship leader of the Pro-M class in the GT3 Cup, Pro-M category in the GT3 Cup class, is currently leading the overall classification in the first division this afternoon. Chris Nani is currently second. He tries to keep up with Bernini, but it looks like Bernini is definitely on a very nice pace. Nani was just a tiny bit faster one lap ago than the current race leader, but the previous lap belongs and goes to Bernini, and by 2.5 tenths. So that means Bernini has confidence with him, and he is ready to respond to whatever the drivers behind him might throw at him. And we still have to go through a longer distance here to maybe try and figure out the strategies of the drivers. This is Matas Mendelis versus Frutos. Let's follow up with this battle slightly as we enter the track of a slightly different kind. You can separate the Red Bull Ring circuit into two parts. The first part has slow corners and long straights, so plenty of opportunities for the drivers to try and win at least one spot. That's what Matas Mendelis is currently up to. And then we have this more twisty section with mid-speed corners towards the end, where it's definitely difficult to make those passes. Wow, Frutos is pushing Matas Mendelis to the side, but actually I don't think that's a very clever move to do by Frutos, because Matas Mendelis was already side by side and it looked like Frutos was just trying to push Matas Mendelis off the racetrack. He tried to cut him off before the corner, and this time leaving a little bit more room, though tries to go very tight into the corner. But you cannot be that harsh against one of the fastest drivers on the WorldSimSeries platform. Matas Mendelis looks like he faced no issues whatsoever with this harsh driving of Frutos, did not give up and finally has the position for him, and Frutos is currently followed closely by Colossi. Both of the drivers actually lost plenty of time. I'm not sure if it was a very clever thing to do at the beginning of the 1 hour race with that one mandatory pit stop. Oh, Colossi running a little bit wide through turn 9 and brakes a little bit too late into turn 10. This is a very easy mistake to do, as Bernini sets another fastest lap time, 1 minute 30.9. He was 6 tenths faster than the second placed Crisinani. I think there is a hint of a slightly different strategy here. We just have to wait out and see which driver is on which strategy, as Matas Mendelis and Frutos, they lost roughly 2 seconds on that previous lap time. Matas Mendelis, he went in front of Frutos, but it looks like he started struggling and making some mistakes. I'm not sure if the 15 kilograms do have any influence on the handling of the car, but he actually, well, kind of disbalanced Frutos. Oh, so late on the brakes. Frutos almost taking Matas Mendelis out. This is definitely not a very nice move, and Matas Mendelis losing 2 positions here. Colossi now taking the place that Matas Mendelis had currently, and Matas Mendelis dives straight into the inside of turn 7 through turn 8, and well, actually into turn 6 and now through turn 7 and 8. This is a very fast chicane of the Red Bull Ring track, but Colossi, he can say a big thank you to Frutos, who was definitely very, very aggressive down the braking zone. Matas Mendelis lost the position because, well, he made a mistake 1 lap ago, as Frutos hits the curb and jumps a little bit of him, as Vielgo goes a little bit wide. And look at Klapikas. Klapikas is slowly but surely catching up with this pack as they continue their battles and losing time. Klapikas was able to put in very stable lap times, avoided mistakes, and looks like he is about to join the battle in front of him. And remember, he started a little bit higher up the order in the qualifying session. He started 7th. He's running 8th now, so not a lot of positions lost for Klapikas. Still, at least 1 place has to be gained back for Klapikas, as Matas Mendelis against Colossi side by side. The next corner is a right-hander, so Colossi will have a very nice entry into the corner, but he's very, very careful, leaving plenty of room for Matas Mendelis, as Matas locked up one of his front wheels shortly, still managed to stick on the outside of the corner to get that position back. So Matas Mendelis back to P4, but he's currently 5, actually a little bit more than 5 seconds behind Cajoni, and he has to settle down now and try to avoid the mistakes that he did a couple of laps ago. Lost plenty of time. Those mistakes cost not only time, but if you lose position, you lose well, not half a second per lap, but you can lose up to 3 seconds per lap when you get involved yourself in those battles. So these are crucial moments for Matas Mendelis, and good news for him because Frutos is right on the back of Colossi, and he's having a look into turn 1. Just try to destabilize Colossi, who managed to stay on his racing line, and that didn't work out for Frutos, as we ride on board with him as we go down the longest straight of the track and approaching the slowest corner on the uphill. That's the 3rd corner, and AMSAG. What an interesting name for a corner, as we run now down the hill up to the 4th corner, the Rauch corner. which is a corner down the hill, and it looks like this is the part of the circuit where Matas Mendelis is struggling the most. So the slow speed corners and the longer straights don't give enough confidence for Matas Mendelis. Remember, the 992 cars have an open setup system here in this championship, so every driver has set up their cars to their likings, and maybe this is the reason why currently Matas Mendelis is struggling on those parts of the circuit compared to the drivers around him. And look at the different strategy, very different lines for the drivers here, and Matas Mendelis, well, he is not shaming to use all the width of the racetrack. It looks like he has a very good balanced car that is not afraid of the curbings, but those curbs, I'm not sure if that's the reason, but maybe because Matas Mendelis is braking on those curbs, he loses a little bit of track distance, braking distance, because those curbs, they are a little bit slippery. Well, they are not slippery, they make the car jump and the wheels bounce, and that might elongate the braking zone for Matas Mendelis. That's why Colossi and Frutos even, they managed to go around Matas Mendelis. As soon as we entered the track with no such huge braking zones, it looks like Matas Mendelis is kind of back in action. But he lost again to the driver behind. And he'll need to kind of try to figure out how he can go back to P4. Bernini up in front, 4.5 seconds ahead of Nani. Cajoni currently 3.5 seconds behind Nani, so he's a little bit closer to P2 than P2 is to the leader. And Colossi already 6 seconds behind Cajoni. So the lineup is kind of the order is kind of building up, as maybe the positions between 6, 7 and 8 will still change before the pit stops. Frutos is being chased down by Vielgo, but it looks like Klapicas is the fastest driver out of this group of 5 cars. Actually, Colossi was faster than Matas Mendelis. Matas Mendelis 32.8, so definitely struggling as Vielgo sees a chance and tries to kind of go around the rival on the outside. Vielgo sticks to the inside, and it looks like he manages to stick there. And still in front is Vielgo of Frutos. What about Klapicas, who's running right behind? This time Fruto is on the inside of the racetrack. Vielgo should stay behind. There is no chance for him to try and take that position back. And actually, just before the corner, looks like Vielgo made a crucial mistake. He didn't prepare the car for an exit. He kind of was looking into the inside of the corner to maybe have a go, and lost a little bit to his rival, and he didn't manage to kind of avoid the contact. But Frutos is looking very, very aggressive this afternoon. Well, of course, Vielgo ran into the back of him. But what Frutos did next is kind of a little bit too aggressive. He forced Vielgo to go off the racetrack and almost crashed him into the barrier. So Vielgo was maybe not very careful on the accelerating part out of the corner, but yeah, but Fruto is definitely here on the move. He's not happy about the drivers around him and him losing places. So he tries to stick there as hard as possible. Klepikas up to P7 as Rahmanian went into the pit lane. I think this is a strategic call by Rahmanian. He lost a couple of places now, but I think he kind of tried to go out of a battle to gain places later on in the race. He should be definitely on a no-change strategy for this race, as Kwiatkowskas and LaRue continue their battle. We have a couple of GT4 cars a little bit closer to each other. That's Ilmas trying to chase down V, as Gubarevs is currently leading the M class and is third overall in the GT4 class. So Klepikas 3.5 seconds ahead, and still Klepikas 4.2 seconds behind Jan Nimt. So if anything goes wrong for the German driver, Klepikas is still here with a slight chance of crossing the start-finish line in P1. He's currently in the M category, as Klepikas lost now to Vielgo and is back in P8. And is finding himself all over the back of Vielgo. So maybe this was a mistake of the driver from Lithuania. Matas Mendelis is unable to get back on pace. Maybe he decided to go on the conservative strategy. If he's sticking on one set of tires, he needs to avoid those battles which scrub off his tires a little bit too fast, as Klepikas makes a very huge mistake into the final corner. Klepikas is familiar with this real racetrack, and he has won races here in the 992 Cup car in the past. So he definitely knows his way around this circuit. Maybe a little bit more uncomfortable behind the wheel of a simulator. Well, it's a little bit different to drive the virtual cars rather than be in the real car. And you have to kind of adjust to the less feelings you get from the virtual surroundings, and it's a little bit harder actually to be right on the limit and feel the tire go off and feel the corners and the speed. That's Gubello. He made a big mistake and is now back on the racetrack. Matas Mendelis a little bit less than 1 second behind. Kolossai. So maybe he has the pace. But finds himself behind his rivals, so I'm pretty sure Matas Mendelis is now all about tire saving strategy, but I'm not sure if that's gonna be the best strategy. He's already 18 seconds behind Bernini and losing more than 1 second per lap. Maybe he is struggling with some sort of problems as we approach GT4 cars traffic. Nani has already passed a couple of GT4s, and look at his lap time. He lost a little bit of time, so when you catch up with the GT4 cars, you might lose a little bit of time, because Johnny is the next driver to pass those slightly slower paced Porsches, and Kolossa and Matas Mendelis, they are gaining on them. Matas Mendelis again 1.5 seconds behind Kolossa, so he's very unstable this afternoon. He's using all the width of the racetrack. I'm not sure if those curbs are the reason why Matas Mendelis is so struggling this afternoon. Most of the other drivers, they use the curbs on some parts of the racetrack, but in those braking zones, some of them decide to stick to a slightly tighter line. just to have a little bit more confidence, and that shorter braking distance looks like it works a little bit better for them here on the track. Colossae won. That's the reason why Matas Mendelis is not staying up behind Colossae. 1 minute 31.4 for Colossae, 1 minute 31.9 for Matas Mendelis, as Vielgo also sets his personal fastest lap time. He was 3/10 faster than the car in front of him. Frutos did a 1 minute 31.7. Both of the cars actually chasing on Matas Mendelis, who is a little bit less than 4 seconds ahead of Vielgo. Matas Mendelis cannot lose his concentration. Tiniest mistake can force him into the clutches of these two drivers who are trying to shear the racetrack. We've seen Frutos being very, very aggressive recently as he outbrakes himself into the fourth corner, running down the hill. It's a very tricky corner. You always kind of tend to try and brake as late as possible because it's a relatively slow corner, but it's definitely easy to outbrake yourself, especially if you have the tires worn out a little bit. And it looks like this small mistake for Vielgo for Frutos allowed Vielgo to get a little bit closer. As we approach to a group of GT4 cars, some opportunities might open up for Vielgo here to try and gain some spots as we slowly but surely approach the mid part of this race. And the faster drivers, the drivers who might be on a tire change strategy, they might go into the pit lane quite soon, and Frutos is stuck behind the GT4 cars. And I wonder what it was. Yearly Kaya, the driver who was hit by Frutos, as Frutos lost the position to Vielgo while we've been looking at the GT4 class. But this looks to be a very difficult race for Frutos. Look at how late the driver is trying to brake as soon as he's been overtaken by his rivals, and while he was stuck in traffic. And you can almost feel the frustration, the heat coming out of the virtual cabin of Frutos here this afternoon. And using his horn. Looks like these 992 Porsches have a horn system for them to try and go through the traffic a little bit faster. This time Vielgo was stuck a little bit behind that GT4 as Frutos is trying to catch up. Oh, but he misses the corner badly. This is turn number 9, the Rind corner, and this is the chance over for the driver from Spain to try and get back into P7. He will have to sort things out, calm himself down, and try to get back on the rhythm. That's Lulis and Ilmas. And while Yearly Kaya is back in the pit lane, we see Klapikas in the background. So Klapikas didn't stand too long here on this racetrack. He didn't have a good start. Well, he had issues during the start. He then gained on the drivers in front. He was kind of faster at one stage of the race, but now he's dropped very far behind his main rivals. Still trying to catch up with them as he deals with the traffic. That's Ilmas, who managed to overtake Lulis and Rahmanian. Oh, and Ilmas actually goes straight off the racetrack as we were looking at Rahmanian. Remember, Rahmanian is the driver who is currently second in the GT4 Pro Plus class, and he is now down in P19 overall. But I think he was the driver who went into the pit lane earliest. He has a 10 kilogram ballast on his race car due to the podium finishes in the previous rounds. And I think Rahmanian has a slight, well, not a slight pace advantage, a very nice pace advantage against Lulis. Well, at least looking at the previous lap times of these drivers. And the fastest lap times, well, Rahmanian is 9/10 faster when you compare the fastest lap times of the drivers than the driver ahead. This time they are battling for position, though they both run in different categories and they actually do not share the points. Very clever move by Lulis. He let Rahmanian through as Matas Mendelis lost plenty of places. Wonder if I missed his pit stop. So his previous lap time was a 1 minute 39.3, and if he's on a one-stop strategy, I think it's still too soon for him to go into the pit lane, and he's currently losing not that much. So most likely we've missed some action from the lead driver of this afternoon for the Dream to Drive team. We'll stick a bit with Matas Mendelis to try and figure out the lap time of him after that very slow lap. And Frutos actually had a very slow lap, also 1 minute 38.4. He's fallen behind Klapikas. So while we were looking at the GT4 class, a little bit of action took place on the racetrack. Sadly, we don't have confirmations of what happened or whether the drivers went into the pit lane or they went slow. 1 minute 42.2 lap time for Mendelis, so two slower laps in a row. So most likely Matas Mendelis was in the pit lane. It's a shame I don't have my colleague here this afternoon. Gustas Grimbergas felt sick, and I wish you well. Hopefully he'll be able to join us on Thursday for the MX4 Championship Finals. He's the driver. He's the person always looking at the stats and having the opportunity to maybe rewind some things and figure things out. It's a shame I've missed and didn't see what happened to Matas Mendelis, but I would assume he went into the pit lane. Not sure why he would have done that, because that should have been a very short stop. Just a splash and dash. But he lost roughly 17 seconds here in the previous two laps. Gubarev's drive-through penalty, so maybe it was a drive-through for Matas Mendelis also. Track limits. We've seen Matas Mendelis using all the width of the racetrack, so maybe that was the case. As Vielgo goes into the pit lane, this is definitely a planned stop for the driver, as I made a small mistake while announcing the event on Thursday. That's gonna be the MX5 Championship. So while looking at the GT4 class, in my head I called the Mazda MX4 Championship. Never seen cars like these, of course. Sorry for the mistake. Actually, I've meant the Conspit MX5 Championship Finals. They will take place this Thursday. There's gonna be a huge battle because there's gonna be some nice prizes on the table offered by the championship or sponsors Conspit. And we will join the MX5s in a couple of days on a very unusual racetrack, Grobnik in Croatia. So Bernini into the pit lane, Nani is staying outside. This might be the moment of turnovers. If Nani and Kajoni, both international racing team drivers, are on different strategies, this might be the chance for them now to shine, look after the tires and stay out for as long as possible. They might be looking at a slightly different results as we had up until the mid-race. Bernini was definitely on that fresh set of tire strategy. That's why he was very fast. Though both Nani and Kajoni, they are still showing a very nice pace during the stage of the race. So I'm still not sure if they will go into the pit lane and change the tires, or they'll stay out and they will do a very short splash and dash to try and finish off this race on one set of tires. Kolosai fourth as Guborevs completes his drive-through penalty. Klapikas now up to P4 after all those pit stops have been completed, and Bernini will be climbing up his tail quite shortly. He's only 4 seconds behind Klapikas on fresh set of tires. We have tire warmers here, so he doesn't have to kind of crawl around the racetrack for at least one lap. He can push to the maximum straight out of the pit lane. Frutos is right behind Bernini now. Remember, Frutos also lost a little bit of time, so he's still on the old set of tires, and that should be no problem for Bernini to get away from the chased driver. Klapikas into the pit lane, so is Tarciali, I believe, in the background. Kolosai also taking a pit stop. And Matas Mendelis goes straight ahead of Kolosai as he re-enters the racetrack. Still a mystery with Matas Mendelis, whether he was one of the earliest stoppers. That might be the case, which we didn't see on screens. So that would be a position gained for Matas Mendelis during the earlier pit stop. Kolosai now being behind Matas Mendelis, losing 3 places as Bernini still trying to use all the fresh rubber of his tires. He's currently 22 seconds behind Kashoni with 26 minutes to go, and he should have a nice pace advantage against the drivers. A very short pit stop should take around 18 or 19 seconds, so I'd say he's pretty safe with P2 now in this race. What about Nani? He needs to be very precise and avoid any possible mistakes, because Bernini, he will definitely be very fast towards the end of the race if the drivers in front of him will stay on old tires. And we're about to see the pace of Bernini. That should be roughly 1 minute and 31. 1 minute 31.4. His fastest lap time is 1 minute 30.8, so he's still 6/10 shy of the fastest pace that he managed to have in this race. But on fresh tires, I'm pretty sure he will be able to go quicker and quicker with every lap, and he's definitely gonna be pushing, because this is the moment where he might understand the different strategies of the race for him and his main rivals. He should be pretty calm. At least P2 is definitely on the table, as Nimts and Klapikas, both of the drivers, stay on the racetrack. I believe both of them just made a pit stop. As Rahmanian is up to P3. Remember, this is the driver who went into the pit lane very, very early, and it looks like the strategy for Rahmanian has worked out. He's currently 14 seconds behind Klapikas, so quite a lot of time to gain for him if he wants to finish in front. And yep, definitely Klapikas and Nimts are both have returned on the track from the pit lane. Rahmanian will try and well, at least keep a little bit of pressure on the shoulders of the driver in front of him. That's the freshcomer Klapikas. As we look at Egidius Gražys, he is up to P7 now. He had a very decent start for this race, but then kind of lost it and went backwards. In the standing order, he's now behind Kolosai and Mendelis, though he's in front of Klapikas. And Mendelis is right on the tail of Frutos, only 3/10 separating these two drivers, so this is gonna be a battle on the racetrack, and I believe Frutos is yet to make a pit stop if he was not in the pit lane at the very similar time when Matas Mendelis went there, and he's actually not that feisty anymore. It looked like he let Matas Mendelis through. And in this second part, suddenly the pace of Matas Mendelis is kind of coming alive, as Frutos is just making way for all the drivers behind him. Not sure what the reason about that is, and he's going straight into the pit lane. So Frutos is gonna be the driver who will lose plenty of time here, and receiving a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So he was heading for his mandatory pit stop, and he sped a little bit while entering the pit lane, and that's not gonna be the last time for Frutos this afternoon when he will be visiting the pit lane. He will need to get out on the racetrack after he completes his pit stop and then get back straight into it. So free way for Gražys and Vielgo, and also Terciali. And basically Frutos will drop to the very last place in the Cup class here in this race, as we run with Eduardas Klapikas. Hendrikas Klapikas is currently second, 2 seconds behind Jan Nimts. Oh, I wish we would have a little bit more data here for us to check, but well, that indicates that rather Jan Nimts made a big mistake, or Klapikas was just not yet into the pits, though. Looking at the lap times, I think Klapikas was actually in the pit lane. So this is a very interesting point on the racetrack. Only 2 seconds separate the current GT4 class leader and P2. Well, actually, Jan Nimts is leading the Pro Plus class. Klapikas is leading the GT4 M class, so he's looking to take a win whatsoever. It doesn't matter if he'll finish first or second in the GT4 class. He'll still get the highest step on the podium in the most crowded category here of the GT4 class. He's leading the GT4 M class by quite some margin. So the next M driver in the GT4 class is Wig, and he's currently 23 seconds behind Klapikas. Well, actually the timing is going a little bit crazy. It's a little bit hard to tell the difference now between Wig and Klapikas, but Klapikas is approaching turn 2, so there's definitely a huge space in between the GT4M drivers who are battling for the win in this race. Frutos drive-through penalty taken, and he's now dead last in the GT3 Cup class, as Bernini continues his journey to try and chase down Cajoni and Nani. 1 minute 30.8 versus 1 minute 31.8 the lap time of Cajoni, and 1 minute 32.0 the lap time of Nani. Bernini hitting the fastest lap times almost. Well, this time he was a little bit slower, 1 minute 31.3, but we've seen that he had a little bit of action with the traffic, as Matas Mendelis lost the position again to Colossus. So Matas Mendelis was up to P4. What's happening with the current Dream to Drive team leader? It looks like he's kind of not finding the pace and is unable to avoid mistakes on the racetrack, which is an usual situation for the driver of Matas Mendelis. He usually is able to concentrate fully and make no mistakes during the races, and we still have 19 minutes on the clock, and Matas Mendelis is kind of struggling here. Well, he doesn't have his main rival, his teammate here, racing this evening. So good news for Matas Mendelis, at least in that department, kind of opening up the championship chances for different drivers while we miss our championship leaders. Mendelis is, well, he was 4 points ahead of Kajani before this race. Kajani is currently second. Nani was fourth, 6 points behind Mendelis and 12 points behind Toros. So the tables will turn after the finish of this race, and actually Matas Mendelis, he should kind of try and, well, at least finish before the position that he had, but it doesn't look so very easy for Matas Mendelis to achieve this afternoon, as he just tries to stick to the tarmac. He's 17 seconds ahead of Egidius Graži, so he shouldn't fall lower than P5 here this evening, but still not a very good result when you don't have your main rival here and you enter the third championship race in second position in the overall standings. Both drivers, Mendelis and Kajoni, have the same amount of BOP for this race. Both have 15 kilograms. And Matas Mendelis looks to be struggling quite a bit. Maybe he wasn't lucky with this way he set up the car for this race. The good news for Matas Mendelis, if he finishes fifth and Kajoni will finish second, Matas Mendelis will have the lighter car for the next event, and that's gonna be his chance to finish higher in the next race in 2 weeks, as Bernini still continues to chase down the 2 cars ahead. 1.1 second gained. Okay, we will compare the laps now. Looks like Bernini was very fast in the second sector, 131.1, so 1.2 seconds faster than Kajoni, and 2 seconds faster, and 1 full second faster than Nani, so he's still constantly gaining, and both of the current leaders, they will have to go into the pit lane for a very short time. That's gonna be only a splash and dash pit stop for both of the international racing team drivers. They will head straight into the pit lane, just make a short stop, add 1 liter of fuel into the cars and head back straight on the track. Bernini will greet them. He should be somewhere around, well, at least Kajoni, after they make their pit stops complete. But if they gonna take both of the cars almost to the very end of this race, there's not gonna be a lot of time for Bernini to take action, so he's trying to take action right now. With 15 laps on, or with 15 minutes on the clock, we still have roughly 10 laps of racing. Well, maybe a little bit more here to offer, so Bernini can shave off even more of the advantage, and that might be enough for the driver from Italy to not only win the qualifying session, but also win in the race with a different strategy rather than the IRT guys are currently running. But still, this is actually not a very huge battle, because Bernini is a Cup Pro M driver and he's way in the lead in the championship, and kind of no close rivals here for Bernini. So Gallardo, who is currently second, and Kalmaitis, who is currently third in the standings, both of them are not present here in this race. Wow. I don't think there was a contact between the GT3 Cup and the GT4. It looks like the GT4 just lost traction on the exit of the slowest corner of the Red Bull Ring racetrack, as Bernini tries to waste no time whatsoever. I think, no, it's just the same livery. I almost thought that he just overtook Jan Nims for yet another lap. Jan Nims leading the GT4 class. As we head back to Klapikas, wow, look at the pace of Hendrikas Klapikas. It looks like he's just becoming faster and faster with every lap, and the previous lap he was 4 tenths faster than the current race leader. So Jan Nims, he's slightly faster overall. You can tell by the gap it's slightly extending. It was a little bit less than 2.5 seconds a couple of laps ago. It's now 2.7 seconds. So still, it's growing, at least if you compare those last couple of laps. But the very last lap, Klapikas was slightly faster, so maybe we'll have a small battle, well, actually a big battle towards the end of this race in the GT4 class, which would be a very unusual sightseeing because we are used to seeing Jan Nims just dominating the races. Remember, 2 weeks ago, Edvin Žadeikis joined championship. He was very strong, but well, he couldn't compete with Jan Nims whatsoever this time. The newcomer of Henrikas Klapikas looks like he's just trying to play another game here. Well, it's again extending, so maybe Jan Nims just lost a little bit due to some traffic on the racetrack on the previous lap. This time he'll be definitely faster than Klapikas. But that's 137.9 for Jan Nims. Oh no, it's 136.9 for Jan Nims and 137.2 for Klapikas. So still not that bad. Let's try and compare the fastest lap times of these two GT4 car drivers. So Jan Nims did a 1 minute 36.37 in this race, while Klapikas did a 1 minute 36.71, and Rahmanian, he did a 1 minute 36.7 here. So Rahmanian lost somewhere earlier in this race. Remember, he had to take that early pit stop, which seems to work out for Rahmanian to gain quite a lot of places, but he still lost a lot of time to Klapikas and Jan Nims. He still has the pace, but there's not enough time for him to try and make things work, so he just needs to stick to P3 and kind of cruise towards the finish line, where we will see still a couple of cars go into the pit lane, not from the GT4 class, but from the GT3 Cup class, definitely. Now Cajoni is 13 seconds ahead of Bernini. That's basically game over for Cajoni in the battle for P2, so he should be overtaken by Bernini, and I think there's not gonna be big issues for Bernini to overtake Nani for the win of this race. But yeah, still some strategy possibilities open on the table. Chrissy Nani needs to take the pit stop, not on the final lap, not before the pit stop, but at least one lap till the finish line. To my understanding, you cannot go into the pit lane on the final lap and finish in the pit lane. The rules not allow things like these. Remember, I think that was 1998 in Formula 1, where Michael Schumacher did a penalty on the final lap, a drive-through penalty, so he crossed the finish line while being in the pit lane, and that's how he managed to take that win. That's not possible now with a new set of rules in the championship, so Nani and Cajoni, they will most likely have one last lap to try and finish ahead of Bernini. So still sticking on the track here, trying to be as fast as possible on those old tires. Bernini has no issues with rubber whatsoever. He tries to push as hard as possible. The car should be a very similar weight now at this stage of the race by all the drivers. The advantage of the tires for Bernini, they should help him a lot. In the end, Matas Mendel is 2.7 seconds behind Kalosai. Looks like he's kind of out of the ballpark here to fight for P4. And he was P4, and not once, but actually a couple of times this afternoon already. And always managed to lose those places, so something is out of shape as Chrissy Nani. Well, he's not going till the end of this race. I definitely thought he will be going till the very last lap, but look, the leader of this race went into the pit lane, and actually that was more than enough for Bernini to overtake Chrissy Nani. That's gonna be close, but that's gonna be more than enough for Bernini. So nice calculation by Nani. I think this was a strategic call by him. He kind of knew how long the pit stop's gonna take, and he decided that this is the time for him to go into the pit lane. This might be his only chance to finish off this race in P1, because, well, if he would have stayed out on the racetrack for at least one lap, the next time he would went into the pit lane would have opened up a clear trap for Bernini. Now he's right in front of Bernini and trying to figure out something, at least one chance for Nanis to stand off in the lead of this race. Both of the drivers currently battling for P2, but this is actually a virtual battle because Kashoni needs to go into the pit lane at any point of the race right now. He'll be third, he'll be safely finishing in P3. He's not gonna be anywhere near this battle. And look at the advantage of the tires. Almost, especially in those mid-speed corners, Bernini shines, and well, he can definitely go much faster through the corners, have better traction. As Kashoni goes into the pit lane, he'll be overtaken quite easily by both of these cars, but nice timing by Nani, and mistakes come straight away. And Nani also, he didn't manage to close up the door on time and left the inside of the track open, and that's gonna be an easy overtake for Bernini. Nani has nothing here to answer to him. Tried to brake a little bit later, tried to reached the apex of the corner a little bit earlier, but Bernini was there. There was no place to go for Nani, and Bernini is back into the lead. So he continues his domination this afternoon. He won the qualifying session, and he's looking to take the win of this race with no problems whatsoever. Was a little bit close. By the way, Bernini was the fastest driver in the pre-qualifying sessions. Nani was second, so kind of the weekend of Bernini. Well, it's not a weekend, it's a Thursday evening, so kind of the week of Bernini, where he found the best pace on the track located in Austria. And off into the distance he goes. Kashoni 5 and a bit seconds behind Nani, so the gap is quite similar here between the two international racing team drivers. Kalosai currently 4th, 2.5 seconds ahead of Matas Mendelis. So when Matas Mendelis is not making mistakes, it looks like he can match the pace of Kalosai, maybe sometimes go a little bit faster, but those mistakes that he's making this afternoon, they don't allow Matas Mendelis to run a little bit higher up the order, the positions Matas Mendelis usually runs at. And he's he's currently second in the championship standings, and didn't find a good pace here. By the way, Matas Mendelis won the previous round and is not looking very good here this afternoon, but it's a 5-race championship. All the races count towards the overall results of the drivers, so Matas Mendelis will have a lighter car for the next race, and that's gonna be his strong side, where he will try and recover from the very difficult race this afternoon. As Klapikas still runs second, but currently 5 seconds behind Jan Nemco. Still showing a very solid pace, but not enough pace to stick with Jan Nemco, though, he definitely has written his name deep into this championship of the GT4 class, as a newcomer has kind of entered on the racetrack. Well, newcomer in this championship, he's not new to the simulators. As far as my knowledge goes, Klapikas is a very talented young race car driver, so he follows the steps of his dad, Eduardas Klapikas. The whole family is are racing drivers. Eduardas Klapikas has raced plenty of GT3 Cup races, and Hendrikas Klapikas just growing up to be maybe a faster driver than his dad, and he's doing pretty nice here in this race of the Porsche Fever Championship Round 3 on the WorldSimSeries platform, as we slowly but surely go towards the end of this race. Think there's gonna be 2 laps to go as we will cross the start-finish line. A couple of corners. In the course of a couple of corners, that's Bernini, your overall race leader. And it's actually gonna be very close with the lap count. Just holding my breath, trying to understand. Yep, that should be the penultimate lap of the race, but that's gonna be very close, though I don't think Bernini will manage to go faster than 1 minute 31, and he'll definitely want to finish off this while still leading the race with no problems whatsoever. So currently nice domination by Bernini as Nani tries to follow up his rival. Cajoni P3 this afternoon, still a very decent result for the driver from Slovakia, and he's very strong in this championship, so there's gonna be really interesting point recalculations in the overall standings after this round finishes, especially as we do not have Tauras Tonila with us, the championship leader. He's on the real racetrack and looking at the virtual racetrack this afternoon, trying to cheer up for his team. Matas Mendelis currently the highest ranked Dream to Drive team driver, and it's not looking too good for the results of this team. Still, the drivers do as best as they can. Grajis is currently P6, and actually his pace is really nice as Klepikas is in a battle with Tarchali. I think Tarchali just made a mistake because he was nowhere near Eduardas Klepikas, and now he is running side by side. Well, actually, Klepikas was slightly faster. I think this battle is shaping up not for the first lap. Both of the drivers running very close to each other, so Klepikas is looking for a P8 finish here this afternoon. He managed to qualify himself 7th, so he definitely has pace. But kind of also, like Matas Mendelis, running out of track from time to time and doing those mistakes, and they hurt the most to the results of the drivers. Now he needs to battle it out, and he needs to prove his team boss that he can hold the position in the Dream to Drive team. That's definitely some nice practice runs for the drivers who will go and visit and race on this racetrack. In the real world, definitely no better place than virtual racetracks to honor and practice your skills before you take the starts of the real events. A couple of corners to go for Bernini, and he will take the checker flag as we lose some places in the GT4 class. I wonder if that was a late pit stop, and look how close it is. Yep, Bernini is taking the win in the GT3 class, in the GT3 Cup class, and he was dominant this whole evening. Nani finishing 2nd, Cajoni 3rd. Colossi bringing back the car in 4th as Mendelis will finish right behind him. He is currently a little bit closer. He got himself closer to Cajoni, but well, he's not. He was not able to avoid mistakes. That's why he's not finishing 4th. Jan Nims taking the win in the GT4 class, the Pro Plus category. Klepikas finishing 2nd and taking the win in the Pro-M category, as we congratulate Rachmanian for taking P3 and P2 in the Pro Plus category. We have 3 categories in the GT4 class, but as our timing table goes wild, because some of the drivers are still on the racetrack, that's Klepikas against Tarchali, and Klepikas finishes 9th in the Cup class as Tarchali manages to finish to fend off the attacks of Klepikas successfully and take their checkered flag. But it was a very difficult race for some of the drivers, but we've seen some very nice dominant performance by the others. So let's take a look at the final unofficial standings, the finishing places of this race, as we went through the field, and let's do it one more time. So Bernini finishing first in the Pro-Am class, and he'll extend his lead. Nani finishes second overall, but he is the winner of the Pro Plus category. Kajoni finishes second and Kalossai third. So Matas Mendelis finishes fifth overall, but fourth in the Pro Plus class. Grozis finishes second in the Pro-Am as Vielga finishes third. GT4 Pro Plus has been won by Jan Nimtz, Rahmanian second, and Ilmos third. GT4 Pro-Am has been won by Gubarevs, followed by Wee, Yerlikaya, and Lulis. And the biggest battles in the GT4 AM class, Klepikas ahead of Nikkanen, Larue, Kvietkauskas, and Guabello. So it's the final and unofficial standings and results of this race, and hope you had fun, and well, hopefully we will meet again on Thursday for the MX5 Championship finale. Have a good evening, and see you soon.